Although Falun Gong, also known as Falun Dafa, is deeply rooted in ancient Chinese culture, it was first introduced to the public in 1992 by Mr. Li Hongzhi, the practice's founder and teacher. Now, over 100 million people worldwide perform the simple, graceful exercises on a daily basis while striving to conduct themselves according to Falun Dafa's fundamental guiding principles: truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance. The vast majority of people who take up the practice experience significant improvements in many aspects of their lives. This collection of short articles published in the book, Hearts and Minds Uplifted: The Power of Falun Dafa, describes the tremendous personal growth that can be achieved by cultivating one's character through practicing Falun Gong. The 48 articles chosen for Hearts and Minds Uplifted were carefully selected after reviewing hundreds of personal cultivation stories that have been published on the Minghui website. There is great diversity among the authors, which illustrates how Falun Gong has spread throughout the world and is benefiting people of all ages, all nationalities, and all walks of life. We invite you to join us listening to their stories in this special series of Minghui Radio. The Enormous Power of Dafa by a Falun Dafa practitioner in the UK. I came across Falun Gong on the internet in March 1996. I downloaded the materials and started reading them with my wife. We were both very impressed by the philosophy, and the exercises made an immediate impact. Everything made sense to us, and there was nothing that we could not accept. We both had an immense feeling of happiness because we had finally found what we had been looking for. At that time, there were no classes in the UK, but 1 week later I went to Sweden to attend a Falun Gong conference. I spent 6 days in Sweden and met many practitioners. I was very impressed by the friendliness and kindness of the practitioners and enjoyed my time there enormously. At the end of the 6 days, I knew that Falun Gong was something that was very good and also that it was something I could practice well. Since that time, I have changed in every way. In the following pages, I will explain some of the changes that I've noticed. At work, my performance has increased enormously. I am a management consultant, and my job involves advising 25 companies on how to manage their employees. Before practicing Falun Gong, I was determined to reach the top of my company as quickly as possible. When I did not receive a promotion that I was expecting, I would become very upset. Since practicing Falun Gong, I have not fretted about promotions at all. I try to do the best for my clients and really listen to what they want to achieve, without worrying about the profit that I will make on the project. If someone else can help the client more than I can, I will tell the client to work with that person rather than try to get the project for myself. In fact, I price my projects very reasonably now because I do not want to treat any client unfairly. In the last 2 years, I have been promoted twice, and I am selling 4 times as much business for my company than I did before. I am sure this would not have happened if I had not practiced Falun Gong. Also at work, Falun Gong has helped me to cope with the stress in my job. In my work, a mistake can cost my company many hundreds of thousands of pounds. Before I began practicing Falun Gong, there were several occasions when I would not be able to sleep at night because I would worry about my work. Since I've been practicing Falun Gong, I have slept very soundly, even though the pressure in my job has increased. This is because I no longer have an unhealthy attachment to my job or my position in the company. I always try to do the best that I can. If I make a mistake, I correct it as quickly as possible and carry on. I never try to hide my mistakes anymore. In my home life, I have also changed. Before practicing Falun Gong, I was attached to having the best of everything. I was very materialistic and very competitive. I was attached to having the latest electronic gadgets, the best car, house, vacation, clothes, food, etc. Today, I am different. I only buy things that are essential, and I have given away many of the things that I had bought before. I have paid off all of the money that I owed. I have tried to simplify my life as much as I can. Since practicing Falun Gong, I have noticed that I have much more energy. Before, I would need to sleep at least 8 hours every night. Now, I sleep between 4 and 5 hours every night and do not feel tired at all. I use the extra time to do other things now. My personality has also changed. Before practicing Falun Gong, I was always seeking the best way to achieve my personal goals in every situation. Now, I always try to think of how to best help the people around me. For example, I often spend my spare time volunteering to give Falun Gong classes so that others can benefit from this too. Before practicing Falun Gong, I could never have imagined that I would spend much time on an activity without a financial reward. One test that I have at the moment is to treat all the people that I meet the same. At work and in my private life, there are some people that I meet that I instantly like and others that I have a negative view of. I do not say this to them, but I think it in my mind. I realize that this is the result of my attachments. I tend to like people who think the same way I do, and dislike people who do not think the way I do. This means that I think my way of thinking is the best, which, of course, is an attachment. For example, a new person came to a Falun Gong class in London. She did not speak very nicely and was rude to the people around her and to me. I had the view that only nice people would become serious Falun Gong practitioners. I thought that this lady would not be able to do the exercises and would give up Falun Gong very quickly. I was surprised to see that she could do the exercises very well and for over 1.5 hours on her first day, and that she later bought the book, Falun Gong. This shows how incorrect it is for me to judge people based on my own conceptions. In conclusion, I think that Falun Dafa is the most wonderful thing in my life. It has made me into a much better person and made my life so much simpler and happier. In the future, I will try my best to improve further.
Thanks to Falun Gong, I have become much more considerate of others, and I look younger too, by a practitioner in Taiwan. Ever since I was a child, I have been very outgoing and active. My family nicknamed me Wild Horse. I enjoyed sports and won many awards while representing my elementary and secondary schools in open tournaments. However, academically, I fell far short. Nonetheless, the high marks I achieved by playing sports compensated for my poor performance in other subjects. In order to relieve the financial situation at home, I followed the footsteps of my 3 brothers and took a part-time job while attending school. I worked during the daytime and studied in the evening at a technical school. My father died of cancer. At the time, I was not yet a legal adult. Traumatized and saddened by his death, I began to engage in quite a few unhealthy activities, such as gambling, drinking, fighting, reckless driving, gossiping, along with wasting my time thinking about horrible things. I loved sports. I made use of mornings, my time after work and before class to work out. According to my thinking at that time, sweating was a means of proving that I was still alive. I also participated in various tournaments and won many awards and prizes. I was exposed to many temptations and became absorbed in pursuing personal fame and gain. I gradually lost myself in it all. I spent all my time and energy attempting to climb to the top in my career. As a result, my family began to find it difficult to understand me. The trust between my friends and me was gone, and my health deteriorated as I pushed myself to the limit physically. One day, an older friend of mine gave me a popular newspaper that contained some very positive and inspiring stories. Tears began to stream down my face as I was reading it on my way home in the subway. I read stories about being kind and learned many new things. One article I read was discussing Falun Gong practitioners being persecuted in China. Since I wished to know more, a few days later I began to read Zhuan Falun. I joined a practice site in my neighborhood after I finished reading Zhuan Falun for the first time. Afterwards, something miraculous happened. I had never won any scholarships in my life, but after beginning to practice Falun Gong, I was awarded scholarships in 3 consecutive school terms. I realized that doing well in my studies was a result of the increased focus I had developed from practicing Falun Gong. After a year of practicing Falun Gong, my brother's wife commented that I had changed immensely. She went on to say that I had become more down to earth and that I no longer focused on superficial things. My sister had also recognized that I was much more sensitive to other people and was always taking the initiative to help others. Moreover, my colleagues were amazed at how I had made such positive changes within such a short period of time. They said they admired my new commitment and devotion to work. In addition, my team members also observed that I was no longer the aggressive person I used to be. They also mentioned seeing other positive changes in me. Lately, I have heard people comment on my youthful appearance. I could not help but recall an incident when I was in high school. One day, I went out with a friend. We saw his friend coming up to us, and she said to my friend, "Hi, so you are hanging out with your aunt?" I was totally shocked by what I heard and did not know whether to laugh or cry. I know that I owe the change in my appearance to Falun Gong. I know that it is a practice of mind and body, and that many practitioners experience significant improvement in their complexion where it becomes fair and rosy. This occurs even with the elderly. If you are interested in Falun Gong too, you can read Zhuan Falun and you will find the answers you seek.
The principles of Falun Dafa helped me solve a problem at work by a Chinese practitioner living in the West. I work as a technician in charge of productivity in a small company. In order to squeeze out more time, I increased my efficiency and tried to finish my work while still guaranteeing quality, so that I could spend all my remaining time participating in activities to help end the persecution of Falun Gong in China. In recent years, there have been many such activities, and there are often urgent events that require me to take temporary leave from work. The whole year had been like this without any problems until recently. It was orientation day, in which different community associations promote their own culture. Of course, Falun Dafa practitioners also wanted to participate in the event. There was nobody at work who could replace me, but fortunately, there were enough practitioners to attend the event. Therefore, I was considerate of the company and decided not to attend this activity. Yet there was very little to do at work that day, and I finished before half the day was over. During lunch hour, I sat at my desk and a thought came into my mind. Why not leave now? I then emailed my deputy manager to request half a day of leave and hastily left before she returned from lunch. When I returned to work the following day, the deputy manager said to me, "According to your contract, you should stay in the office for 8 hours a day. According to company rules, you need to give 2 weeks' notice before taking leave. Your behavior has violated your contract, and the company is very unhappy about it. The company has no interest in keeping such an employee." Our deputy manager is a strong woman at work. A few months after she joined our company, our department manager resigned due to conflicts with her. She complained that the department manager was not productive enough. Thereafter, I became the only worker in the department. Prior to practicing Falun Dafa, I was a hot-headed person. Unfortunately, I did not change much after I practiced. I had always thought that the company should reward me for doing the work of 2 people on my own. I had already been considerate of the company in not taking the whole day off. Furthermore, I had already finished my duties for the day. Why wasn't I allowed to take half a day off? Therefore, I told the deputy manager, "You should look at the company records. I have finished in 1 day what other employees take 2 days to do. My efficiency should win me some flexibility in work hours. What happened yesterday was an exceptional case, so why should you take it so seriously?" She said, "After you finish your own work, you could help others with their work. While you are at work, all your time must be devoted to work-related duties. Otherwise, you have breached your contract." Since she put such strong emphasis on the matter of working hours, while I was talking about efficiency, it was impossible for us to come to an agreement. Because of this, I suggested consulting the manager. The next morning, the manager said to me that as a rapidly growing company, it was necessary to have strict requirements for management purposes. Every employee needed to abide by certain rules. Of course, on the other hand, the company is very respectful of employees' interests and habits. Take Falun Gong, for example. He said, "The company is very supportive of Falun Gong, yet it is not right for you to violate the company rules so often." I asked if the company could list my violations of punctuality. "You can't," I said. "I have been in the company for over a year now, and all you can remember are just 3 or 4 exceptional cases. Why do other people have flexible hours, whereas even when I have finished my duties, I am still not allowed to enjoy any flexibility in my hours?" It felt as though we had reached an impasse, and I could feel a strong field between us that would not allow us to come together. I calmed down and took a few deep breaths, which allowed my mind to become more aware. I told myself, I am a practitioner, and Master Lee has taught us to be good employees at work. What is wrong with me today? If other people are trying to find fault in me, there must be something I have missed as a practitioner. We should look inside under all circumstances. This is the fundamental difference between a practitioner and an everyday person. All the employees in our company are actually supportive of Dafa, and no one complains if I browse the Clear Wisdom website every day. Before, our deputy manager had never accused me. What was the reason today? Master Lee's words suddenly came into my mind. We should consider others more under all circumstances. As Chinese practitioners living in the West, we should respect the habits of Westerners and the way they like to deal with things. For example, Chinese people would think it is not a big deal whether or not we hold the door for others. Everyone can open their own door when they need to. Yet Westerners take this as a sign of good manners and respect for others. I suddenly understood where the problem was. The deputy manager was angry because I did not inform her early enough before I left work. I did not respect her in this sense. I acted first and reported afterwards, which hurt her pride. I apologized to her sincerely and explained the different customs and habits between the East and West. I also promised to ask her for permission before doing something like that in the future. I also explained to her the purpose of our activities and that time is very urgent at this point. I stressed again that I had increased my efficiency, but I did not expect any monetary returns. All I would like is to win some spare time to do Dafa work. Soon, I could feel an obvious change in the atmosphere. The deputy manager's attitude had softened a lot. At last, the manager said to me with a smile, "You won this time. Go and have your contract rewritten to allow you some flexibility in your hours. I believe you will do your work well." Not only did I not expect the conflict to be resolved so quickly, but I had also won the right to do DAFA work openly. Thinking back on this little story, I came to a clearer understanding of why it is important for us to act according to a cultivator's standard. On the other hand, it is certainly necessary for those practitioners who do not have a flexible work schedule to treat their employer correctly and spend their work hours on their work. We should be considerate of others and earn people's respect everywhere we go.
Thank you for listening to Hearts and Minds Uplifted, a special series brought to you by Minghui Radio. For more information, including news about the persecution of Falun Gong practitioners in China and experience-sharing stories by practitioners around the world, please visit our website at en.minghui.org.